Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka Magicman, and this is episode 383. We got some free-to-play stuff to cover today. Lots of it, actually. We know when Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis is going to launch. We know the benefits of making pie. And we'll find out if documentaries are any good. Joining me to talk over all of it, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
I'm here for the pie with benefits.
I bet. I can't blame you. Pies are good. Also on the line.
Pie
around, indeed. Also on the line, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
That just reminded me of something my mom used to say, and it hurts my brain.
Uh-oh. Is it something that's safe to share?
No, it is. My mom was really sucked at math, and I don't know. I think she thought she was funny as well, and her teacher would say pi r squared. And she would go, no, it's not, pi r round, apparently. And I'm just like, yeah.
That's kind of where the joke comes from. That's why he has that name.
Yeah, but just the way she would, I don't know. She thought she was funnier than she was.
Cha-cha. We got chat live.
We all do. That's why we're all here.
Hanging out with us to go through all the news and give their opinions as we go. Of course, we stream the show on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/MMOBomb. And then we head into a free-to-play stream after that. So come, follow, subscribe. Of course, on YouTube, subscribe and do the notification thing. Tell all your friends and come hang out with us. On that note, let's get started with the news. All right, what do we got today, ladies and gentlemen? We've got things that are coming and one that isn't a thing anymore. Sad face. So first off, let's talk about the things that are coming. Well, this one's kind of already there. I almost said this one's already come, but that sounds... Yeah.
But you said it anyway.
Oh yeah, I guess I did. I guess I did. So, Drifters Loot the Galaxy. If you're looking for a new hero shooter, this might be something you want to take a look at. Blind Squirrel Entertainment making Drifters Loot the Galaxy. Right now, it's in early access, and I did play it a little bit to see if we wanted to first look this one yet. We're going to hold. It is, again, early access, so presumably there'll be more coming to it, because right now there's a 5v5 payload game. That's it. That's the only match that you can do right now, at least that I kept getting queued up for, was payload. And there's only 5 characters in it, so when it's 5v5, obviously you have duplication. There is the typical like healer and tanky and damage dealer roles there. Across the gamut of difficulty. The big thing here, as far as trying to make themselves a little more unique, is the addition of jetpacks and grappling all over the arena. I don't know if either of the two of you had a chance to play this. Like I said, I played, I think, like 3 or 4 matches before I decided we're going to hold on the first look. This isn't quite ready for a first look. It's not going to be received well, when there's one game mode and 5 heroes for a 5v5 hero shooter. But I gotta say, I did have a little bit of fun with it. Although the jetpacks were interesting as far as movement goes, I found myself not really using it all that much because the map you play on really didn't require it. It just turns into a couple open areas, turn into firefight. It definitely needs a lot of work. But I can't say, oh my God, this is just horrible, because it wasn't. Like, it was mildly enjoyable. But you got to know going into it, gang, there is a lot of work that needs to be done here. I could not tell, Jason, what my abilities did, like my specific hero abilities. There is no mouse over tooltip or anything like that. And I primarily was messing around with the healer champion. And so I would go into training, but I couldn't use the abilities because, besides my ultimate, because they required a target, an ally target, and there was no ally target on the training map for me to like start trying to infer what these abilities did by watching them go off. I go offline to search for like an ability tree and everything. Luckily, there was a post on the Steam page that shows all the heroes' abilities and what they do. And you can apparently hold F1 to bring up that. I hit tab thinking like tab will give me a brief overlay, but no, it's F1 and you can only do it in match. So yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. It could be interesting, but I think we're still months, if not a year off from this being very interesting, Jason.
You're always so generous to these games. Oh, it'll be fine once they get their stuff
I'm not saying
done,
it'll be
whatever.
fine. I'm saying it could be interesting, but there's still a long way from even that.
Yeah, a very long way. And we've seen games like this before and wondered if they'll ever get to that long way. I'm thinking of like Rocket Arena or your other favorite could be okay. It's got some good parts to it. Agents Biohunters. Remember that one?
It did have some good parts to it, though.
It has some good parts to it, but
yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I could
Acknowledging the good
some rubber and
parts
say
of
those are good
things.
parts to a car, but it's not going to make a car. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm not planning on trying it until, as you said, if it possibly gets all that work done. So
I mean, obviously, Jason is trying to push into the Overwatch type arena or the Team Fortress 2 with Payload being the primary play mode right now, like that arena. And I wouldn't have a problem with it, but you're selling a Founders Pack already, Q. If you would have just put this out and said, early access, here you go. Dude, we're a long way from release, but let's get some bodies in there messing around with this. I would have said, hey, thumbs up. You're right. You have a long way to go, but getting people in for a hero shooter early can usually help the game long term. And the genre you're going into is crowded with some big bodies. So this wouldn't be bad, but they already are selling a Founders Pack for this one, and it's not exactly cheap. It's $30, gets you a digital art book, the original soundtrack, 5 epic skins, 5 rare skins, 5 emojis, 5 sprays, and $20 worth of the premium currency, which they say is enough right now to buy 2 legendary skins. So it's not even like a Smite Founders Pack where when they were in, betas and early access, they said, hey, give us $20, and any characters we ever add to this game, you will get. No, this is just a bunch of cosmetic and some art book stuff. I don't know. It does make me go, this probably isn't long for the world, Q, unless they really pull it together. Are you muted? There you are.
There are a couple of issues with it, right? It's like, one, the Founders Pack. But, I mean, I don't know. These days, when you think of early access, you think of something that's, unless it is something that comes from high res, and then it's going to be in beta forever or whatever.
Right.
But you think of something that's pretty much almost ready to go. They're just trying to get that little bit of upfront money before they go, okay, now it's all free, right? Just that kind of little bit of perky. And here you have a game, a shooter game with 5 characters and 1 mode, and apparently you can't even really use the 1 feature. Well, the 2 features, right? Because there's the grappling hook thing too. But you can't really use the 2 features that are the selling point of it because the game is more horizontal than vertical.
Yeah, and you definitely can use them. They're just not. They're not necessary. Yeah, right. Like maybe it gives you a little more maneuverability and dodgeability because you're moving in 3 dimensions and your opponents are trying to hit you in 3 dimensions, which is a little harder, but you don't have to. Most of the matches turned into firefights in a couple big wide open areas where it just felt traditionally very, Overwatchy, that's what they were going for. The jetpacks could make it interesting, but the level design, to your point, absolutely has to come with it, and it's just not there yet. I don't know. If you want to check it out, you can. It's totally free to get into. You don't need the Founders Pack. I just thought I'd bring up that there is one available, and yeah, whatever. We'll keep our eye on it, but no first look on this one yet. It would just get downvoted into oblivion at the moment. Not because it's horrible or anything, but because there's almost nothing there right now. And so it's kind of hard to say this is good or bad. Jason just nodding. It's horrible. Let's go to teams that have a little bit of a pedigree when it comes to shooters now and see what they're doing, because we do have some new job posts for Bungie. I think you might have heard of Bungie, right? They do the Destiny 2 thing. Maybe you've heard of these cats. Maybe. But they're looking for an incubation multiplayer systems designer who likes to, quote, spend your time deconstructing the latest PvP games to understand how they work, and that they have a strong familiarity with global gaming markets and the competitive gaming / esports landscape. Now, that's not a lot to go on as far as what new title they would be working on, but we've got the Bungie team, so Jason, I feel kind of makes sense to lean a little towards maybe this possibly being a shooter, right? That's what they do. Possibly obvious, or by the job posting, obviously pushing more for an esports thing. So that kind of pulls it away from it really being Destiny 2 related, and probably for their newer IP. Destiny 2 not exactly known for the esports scene or anything. Probably a long way off too, but what's your speculation? What's your take?
Yeah, I definitely think this means they're going to try to get into the esports market within the next, whenever this comes out, like 4 or 5 years or whatever. Because,
right.
Like you said, that's what they don't have. That's what they've never really done with Destiny or with Halo before that, is any sort of real esports. I mean, there obviously are competitive. I'm sure there are competitive, Halo championships, and obviously there's whatever the stuff in Destiny 2. So
yeah, like the Games of Glory and stuff like
that's what
that.
it's called. Yeah, so they definitely have some experience to some degree, but to make a dedicated game to this sort of thing would be something a little different. It's something they could probably pull off reasonably well, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you look at Games of Glory and in your brain that conjures up the term esports, but when you look at Overwatch League, that definitely conjures up the word esports to your brain.
Sure.
So I can agree with you. And Chad already said it, Ninja Pandas and Chad already said it, Q, but please, Bungie, no battle royales. Please, Bungie, no battle royales.
I mean, I guess they could do just a straight up team shooter, or I would not think they would be steering into the MOBA area or anything like that. Although I could be wrong. I mean, I could totally be wrong, but it doesn't seem like them.
I almost would like to see Bungie do something other than a shooter at this point, but there is that, stick to what you're good at. It's like, I would like to see them do something that wasn't a shooter, Jason, but if they did and it was bad, I'd be like, you're a shooter company. Why didn't you just make a shooter? So they're in a little bit of a weird spot, I think.
The fact that they'll differentiate from it by having it be a really competitive, game all by itself, I think will allow them to branch out a little bit and make it seem different-ish.
We're still years away from this actually being anything, though.
Yeah,
like a long
might not be free
time.
to play.
Becomes a thing.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, exactly. We don't know if it becomes a thing. We don't know if it'll be free to play. But Bungie working on something, definitely newsworthy. Definitely newsworthy. Speaking of esports, Runeterra Q kicking off the first Legends of Runeterra World Championship with a $200,000 prize pool. $200K. It's time for me to start playing Runeterra again, I think. A little late for this one, though. I don't think I'm gonna make this one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, the qualifiers and finals take place in September, so I mean, I guess
Training.
if you really get in there, and work at it,
Cue the '80s Rocky montage, Jason.
Right. Maybe then you could be one of the 64 players that eventually get wheedled down to 16.
Can I just say that, like Riot just seems to, on the esports front, by the way, be one of the companies that actually does this stuff the right way. Like, if you look at how much like incremental change has been in Valorant to cater to esports, and honestly thinking, wow, this is only the first World Championship event for Legends of Runeterra. How old is that game? Like, just the incremental steps they take to keep things moving in those directions. I think you kind of got to respect that more than the companies that on day one launch, Jason, are like, it's an esport. You just have to respect the way they do this, I think. Like
Bungie. They're already going for that esports push.
Right.
But that said, I mean, collectible card game world championships have been around since, Magic the Gathering,
Yeah.
25 plus years ago. So this wasn't that surprising that they would do this. So
No, it's not surprising to me at all. I just think I'm honestly, when I saw it, I was like, really? We haven't done one of these yet? Like how
it's
long
been like
has
a year.
Yeah.
It hasn't been around that long.
Year,
Has it only
a
been
year,
a
I
year?
think. It's been a year since the
Remember,
game
they just
launched.
announced that was like September of a year and a half ago when they announced the games.
Holy shit, it was April 29th, so like 6 days shy of exactly 1 year. Wow.
Yep.
Why do I feel like this has been around longer?
Because 2020 was 3 years long.
While at the same time being like a week to a month long. So
Yeah. And at the
It's
same time,
okay
it's a
if you-
card game. So it's just like they keep appearing out of nowhere anyway.
this is true.
So World Championships later this year. Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. Also slated for later this year, but not that much later, Q. You can already sign up here for the global closed beta test, which is going to be running shortly here, but you'll have the actual release in June.
They did not specify what day in June. So we just know it's in June. But
June
we
31st.
right exactly. What they did give us dates for was obviously they want, players who haven't maybe been playing, PSO2 OG as much or whatever, want them to come back and do a little playing. So they're doing a Road to New Genesis event that gives you all kinds of goodies, and that's on May 12th. And then after that on May, just a couple of days after that, they're dropping the it's the benchmark.
Yeah.
Right. It's the benchmark for it, but it'll also let you create your characters. And from what they said in the video, some people spent 15 hours creating their freaking
I read that.
characters.
That is
In the
nuts.
Well, if you watch the video, they're showing off the little things, and it's like you can actually customize the faces your characters make. And
I
you
don't
can customize your hand movements and stuff. So people were
It
really
doesn't
just
take 15 hours, though.
I guess it does. I guess it does.
Hey, some people do.
I mean, it's pretty
Some
detailed.
people do.
The only reason mine doesn't take, like, character creation doesn't take a long time for me is because eventually I just get frustrated with it and just
Right.
press go.
Yep.
Like, I'm done. Whatever the character looks like, that is it.
So the only issue I have here, like everybody knows my love for PSO, so we don't have to go into how much I'm looking forward to this or anything. But the only issue I do kind of have with this, Jason, is we have the first global closed beta test, because they've done 2 previous, but they were in Japan only. This will be the first global one, running 1 weekend starting May 14th. So 1 weekend, and then the game is coming out in June. It seems to me at that point that your global closed beta test then is really just a server stress test, and not anything else. Like, it is, if you're going to come out in June, there is no feedback you can possibly give after the weekend of May 14th that will actually impact systems in the game or anything like that by launch.
Well, it is Phantasy Star
Testing.
Online.
It was
too,
in
though.
Japan.
Yeah, I mean, they did 2, like I said, they did 2 closed beta tests in Japan, and this is going to be like a simultaneous launch on all platforms in the world. There will be different servers, though, because there's some variances due to local laws and cultural norms for things in the game. So, like, America will be on its own server versus the Japanese server. PSO2 itself, by the way, when this launches, will also get an update to complete its entire cycle and bring all PSO2, the original, as Q says, the OG, bring them up to par in the West here with everything that's been released in the East. So that'll happen simultaneously. A lot going on this front, but yeah, I look at this upcoming test as really just server stress test, Jason.
I mean, they don't need to do, you wouldn't think they need to do a whole lot more because it is the same game. So they need to test all the quests to make sure they work right or whatever. So,
well, I
think
mean,
it wouldn't require that much.
I mean, you might say that, but it is an entirely different questing system that's used in it. I mean,
Is it?
Oh yeah, like
Okay.
you've created an open world game where previously it was a Warframe instance-based game. So there is quite a leap in what is going on here.
I haven't paid attention to this crap.
Yeah.
When it comes out, I'll pay attention to it.
Like I said, they have been doing the testing in Japan, and I didn't sit and listen to what all the changes were that they've made since the second test, because those videos are really hard to watch. They're really just hard to sit there and watch. And
they're very cringy.
Well, it's not even just the cringy, like even just like the translators. Like, I don't know who the translator is for the navigator, but he kind of sounds a little Data-esque. Like, so it's just really hard to sit and listen to it. But I skimmed through and got the important bits and listened to some of it. But yeah, there's a whole section of this is everything we've changed since this last test. So I guess they just feel really comfortable with what they've done based on those 2 tests.
I played like an hour and a half of OG. It'll all be new to me.
Yeah, it absolutely will. It absolutely will. I'm very much looking forward to it. Jason has changed my mind on PSO2, the original, which is why I stopped streaming that a while ago. It just felt like there was no real point in playing it, with New Genesis being, I had the cosmetics I wanted. So I didn't need, it's a grindy, Warframey, ARPG, grind loot fest type game. I wasn't interested in doing the grind for things that really weren't going to matter. And
are you going to go back and play a little bit to get the loot, the stuff?
I'm not. I'm not. I mean, I signed up for beta, but I don't know if I'm going to take the time to actually play it, since it is just a single weekend.
I meant I meant OG.
Oh no,
the go back and play to get the goodies.
None of the Road 2 stuff really intrigues me enough to do it. And the closed beta kind of turns me off because it's a Microsoft Windows Store and it's a 2-day beta. And I'm like, I don't want to bother with that.
Nope.
I'll see you in June. I'll see you in June when you come out.
We'll just all start fresh.
Right. All right. Last up, things that are coming and one that isn't anymore. Here is the thing that is not anymore. Jason and I talked very in-depth on Gaming Gumbo last week about this, so if you want even more opinions, check that show out. But Leu and Amazon has canceled their free-to-play Lord of the Rings MMO. We kind of speculated on this very show, like what potential challenges could exist once it was Amazon and Tencent, now forced by the purchase of Leu to work together, two alpha dogs in the room, so to speak, excuse me, on this MMO. And now it is no more. Jason, they citing, we love the Lord of the Rings IP and are disappointed that we won't be bringing the game to customers. We've been unable to secure terms to proceed with the title at this time, citing a dispute between Tencent and Amazon.
See, you talk about them being two alpha dogs, but when it comes to gaming, Tencent is the alpha dog, and Amazon is this little puppy that just yaps away, this tiny little thing that just makes a bunch of noise and thinks it's really important.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, if you isolate it just to their gaming platform, that's fair. Yeah.
And it's tough to think that Amazon isn't responsible for this in some level, like that they're not the reason this is all going to crap. I can't give them any benefit of the doubt. Like, I just can't right now. Not with how they've bungled their previous games and how New World is still. How's that going to turn out? So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Breakaway never made it. Crucible made it, then didn't make it, then was canceled. New World was delayed a few months and then delayed into the entire next year. It still has yet to release. Supposedly, in the next few months, we will see New World release. Smilegate partnership to publish a title, which we guess is going to be Lost Ark Q, but that would be Amazon as a publisher relationship, something that I've speculated they would probably actually be pretty good at, bringing titles to the West and playing the publisher role, but we have yet to actually see them do it to see if they would be good. I feel like that's probably a better fit for them. And if this doesn't prove that just like you can't just throw money at a problem, I don't know what else proves this.
Well, kind of in this case what Amazon's been doing with everything. The hilarious thing is, in Jason's article, he's like, normally an American game company not being able to work with Tencent would lead to people to blame Tencent.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, What American company hasn't been able to work with Tencent?
Yeah. I mean, well, most of them are partly owned by Tencent now
Yeah.
to this
Right,
point.
Kinda
but
have to
even
work
even
with
prior to that, I feel like most American companies have found a way to work with Tencent.
That's true because they have to publish them and they've published their
Yeah,
game
if you
in
want
China,
if you
right?
want
Right,
in
like
China, that's it.
and I honestly can't think of any company that's been like, "Oh, yeah, it's terrible dealing with Tencent." Like,
Mhm.
because if Tencent buys you, they're just like, "As long as you're making money, we don't really give a crap what
Yeah.
you're doing."
Yeah.
And
When the paychecks roll, we
and
don't
if they
ask
don't buy
questions.
you,
Mhm.
they're like, "Well, we're doing your publishing stuff, so, you just gotta follow the rules over here." I just don't I mean, barring all the other shady governmental stuff that you associate with Tencent, I just don't feel like American video game companies generally have a hard time working with them.
This puts tremendous, as if the pressure couldn't already be higher, Jason.
Mhm.
This puts tremendous pressure on New World. I don't see a path at this point where New World is received to the level that the executives expect it and need it to be received at this
No.
point. Like, even if it's just a moderately decent MMORPG, that's not enough anymore. When
No.
you still had Crucible, when you still had an upcoming Lord of the Rings MMO, I think there would have been a little bit of leeway where as long as New World did okay, it didn't have to, go gangbusters or anything. As long as it did okay, all right. Now Lord of the Rings should fill in some gaps and, we'll bring over Lost Ark and that'll fill in some more gaps. And we still got Crucible that we're changing. But with all of the changes across here, I think New World is doomed to fail no matter how good the game actually is at this point.
I think it's going to get the usual, first month, first 2 months, they're going to say, oh, we have 5 million people or whatever tried the game and so on. And then I think it's just going to kind of go, like if we, it won't be on Steam charts, but if it was, maybe it will. It could be on Steam, but it would just go like that. And maybe like in 6 months or so, it'll be down to that mediocre level where you start asking the question of when it's going to be canceled.
Yeah, I think even if it's critically received well and customers are playing it, I just don't think it can possibly live up to the numbers Amazon has pegged it to hit. I just don't think it's going to. And that's what I don't mean the game is going to come out and totally suck. It might. But when I say I think it's doomed to failure, not because it's a crappy game, but because the targets are too high for it to make no matter how decent it is right now. I think that's the problem. Does this change either of your opinions? Because both of you have disagreed with me on this in the past. Does this change either of your opinions on whether they should rethink the box price for New World?
Have I disagreed on that? I don't remember.
I know Jason disagreed with me.
Probably not. I mean, because if it does start doing this thing, they can then make it free to play after. I think they've been stuck with the box price for long enough that changing it now would seem desperate and bad. I think.
Q.
I was wondering at this point if they can't get along with Tencent, that's not going to bode well for the other, like for any of their games. If they want,
I think you mean game.
well, I mean anything that they try to do, if they can't get along with Tencent, even if they decided, hey, we're going to make another game afterwards, if they can't get along with Tencent, how are they going? That's a whole audience, a massive audience that they're just not going to be able to reach because they can't get along with the one company that pretty much controls all of that.
And not only could you not get along with them, you couldn't get along with them on what was guaranteed to be at least a day one financial success. Like long term, maybe, the quality of the game carries the long term, and we didn't know that. But there is definitely enough hunger in the MMO genre for something new. There always is that hunger. And Lord of the Rings, that IP, granted, may have waned since the years subsequent to the film, but Amazon's live action show could tie into that to boost and cross-sell. The interest was definitely there. Day one, they were going to make a killing, and then if they made a decent game, they would continue to make decent money. But if that's the situation you couldn't work through, Jason, I think Q is dead on. If you couldn't work through a situation where you knew day one money at least was going to be pretty big, what situation can you work through?
I mean, that article I linked said that, but it would have gotten a lot of eyeballs, but if it was subpar, as critical as people could be or something like that, as much love as we have for the Lord of the Rings, they were going to get absolutely roasted. So, some level, yeah, day one would have been nice, but day two might have been horrible. So,
yeah, that's the thing too. We don't know what the disagreement was about. By the way, was it financial in nature? Was it about the quality of the product? We don't know that. I feel like it's unlikely to be a dispute about the direction of the game itself, and I just personally feel, with no other knowledge, that it was financial in nature.
We'll just wait for Jason Schreier to come up with that.
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
We'll have that expose at some point.
All right, speaking of the Lord of the Rings, a player in the existing Lord of the Rings online has done probably just about the most Hobbit thing ever, and gotten to max level baking, Jason, just baking some pies.
Making pies, 130 levels of baking pies. Well, technically probably 128 levels. You start at 1, and you have to do the intro thing that gets you to 2. You have to do some combat in that. But after that, he could have done pies forever. But yeah, even 128 levels of baking pies. I've done crafting in Lord of the Rings Online. It does not give you a lot of XP. You got to, and the worst thing is that it's not like more modern MMOs where like the crafting bar, if you have like 100 things to 100 iron bars, whatever, it'll go pew, 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 pew. No, it's like 1 pie. 2 pies. So yeah, this guy took a long time to get there.
So there are a ton of issues, like just thinking through this mentally, right? One, you got to have the materials to make the pies. So you have to do farming, and that was giving them some XP too. So great, a little bit of a help there. They got a little bit of seed money from that, the 30 gold to get started. But then when they're doing batches between 10,000 and 15,000 pies at a time, now bag space becomes an issue. And now you're making so many pies that putting them on, market boards or auction houses is just driving your own price down, so that you're making less and less and less because you flooded the market with these. So not only is the grind impressive, Cube, but the other barriers that you really wouldn't think of off the top of your head make this more of a, why the hell would you do this? To which the answer is basically, I didn't think it could be done, so I wanted to try.
I mean, which is, I think, a good reason to do something, to be honest, just to see if you can. It's funny because this is really I think the second instance of this kind of thing that I know of now, because the other one was that Tauren or was it the Tauren or a panda? In WoW, that just
a panda because he didn't choose a faction.
Yeah,
right. That's right. They just picked flowers to level.
Yeah, never even left the starting island.
I think it's great because, I mean, if that's how you want to play the game, you should absolutely be able to do it and enjoy the game that way. So
credit where due, player's name is Unlikely Gain 4047. Do we have any idea how long this took?
That was his character. That's his Reddit account. The character was called Cooking with Sim. He said it took about 8 months, I believe.
Oh my God. These are those types of stories that I like covering, and I'm like, that's really interesting, but I'm also like, I would never, ever get it. Like, I might get it in my brain, hey, you know what? I wonder if I could do this. But by the time I hit like level 23 and it was taking me, 6 weeks to gain a level, I'd be like, yeah, I'm out. I'm done. I'm done. I'm pretty sure it can be done. It's just not going to be done by me. If you're playing Lord of the Rings online, though, you do have a lovely event that you can jump into, speaking of hobbits, and I'm sure there will be pies here, too. It is 14 years old now. 14 years old, and that celebration starts later this week. What do they got going on, Jason? Give them a little plug, a little love.
Actually, it started 2 days ago, on April 21st. So yeah, they've got their anniversary celebration. Probably the same stuff as they've ever had before. Just a few new achievements, new cosmetics, that sort of thing, including a cosmetic torches that can be wielded by your characters. So if you want to form an angry mob, there you go. You got your torches, go out there and burn everything down.
Nice.
But they don't mention a whole lot else in terms of like, literally there's like one paragraph just says, hey, it exists. 14 years. Congratulations.
I love chat on the leveling via pies. Well, COVID just hits different.
That's true. What else was he going to do last year, I suppose?
Ninja Panda says that's his 2020. Pretty much. Happy 14th birthday to LOTRO. Before we head over to the weekly bombs here, Did anybody, Jason? I remember you did like a mini review for this. I think for the Dota documentary, like the Valve documentary. I haven't seen it yet. I am going to watch it. What were your original thoughts on this? Because if you haven't seen it, it was free on Steam, but you can now get it on Netflix as well.
What were my thoughts? Well, it's a good thing I wrote that long article, and you're still asking me what my thoughts were.
I'm asking you to recap for the current cast, you knucklehead.
Well, honestly, I had to go back and read my article.
Why are you here?
It made that much of an impression on you. You had to go reread your thoughts.
It was like 7 years ago. It was like 7 years ago. It was before you came back. It was when Spunkify was still the editor. Because the article said by Spunkify. Because I had to like change. I went ahead back and actually changed the name on that before you could actually credit other writers on the site. So anyway, I did that, and as I remember, and as I wrote there, I was like, and this was 7 years ago. This was before like Overwatch League, before I was into esports at all. And I was and still am a pretty heavy esports skeptic in terms of like whether I think it's going to ever be like a main thing that people are going to talk about on par with the NFL or NBA or whatever. But I said stuff like this is good. It shows the kind of the maturation of the concept. Yeah, because you'll see documentaries like that about hey, this baseball player was born in poverty and his mother died when he was 8, but he's managed to make his way to the big leagues, whatever. You see stuff like that. Well, this is kind of the equivalent of that, not quite on that kind of scale, but it still showed these 3 players and the struggles they had to go through to get to the championship. Of course, they couldn't all win. So, I don't remember how it went. Like one player's team won the championship and the other guy was like devastated by the loss and so forth. So, but yeah, it was a really good, just a really good, like I said, really mature kind of look at this sort of thing. And I said that if there was more of this that came around, it could help to make esports into a more widely accepted and widely known thing. Which on that said, I don't think that's happened. I don't think there's been any other really like coverage of this level on it. But
so here's the weird thing. Like I obviously like video games, right? We can assume that. I am a huge documentary dork too, and Q, I know you are too as well. It's like I will watch a documentary on anything. Like I'm just like, oh, Colombian drug smugglers, sure, let's check it out. Let's see what's going on. All right, wow, didn't know that stuff was happening. Great, fantastic. Oh, the challenges of building underground subways in Denmark. Fucking A, hour and a half. Let's do it. Just like, whatever. Put it on. I'll play Rocket League or Final Fantasy 14 and learn about the underbellies of Denmark as we dig out tunnels and things like that. That's cool. I've never watched this one. I've watched many, and I know it was on my list as a meant to watch, but I think I just totally forgot about it. If I was into Dota 2, I probably would have remembered and queued it up, but totally forgot about it. I'm definitely going to watch this on Netflix. Q, have you ever seen it?
But I think for a different reason. There's an other video something that was free on Steam to watch. And I don't watch things on Steam, and I haven't looked at Netflix since it's appeared on there. I've been too busy rewatching Enterprise to do that. But I mean, yeah, I like documentaries and everything, but I kind of didn't even realize it existed because it's just one of the, like I said, videos on Steam are not, that's not something I really do.
I think that's kind of why I didn't watch it too. Like it was, I don't do videos on Steam either. I think at one time I actually had it downloaded, but didn't watch it. That's just lazy. So yeah, now you can check it out on Netflix. You don't have to go via Steam. And by the way, just remember Castlevania Season 4 on Netflix, May 13th, I think. 13th? 14th? Right in there. Awesome. Make sure you check it out. Nasagra in chat saying it can't really make fun of The Hobbit because I got to 99 smithing in old school RuneScape making cannonballs. What is wrong with you, chat? You're maniacs. Absolute maniacs.
That's why we love them.
That's why we love them. That's why we love them. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. I'm going to go first because mine's an update to last week. Last week we talked about Xbox Omega users getting to play free-to-play games without having to have the Xbox Gold membership and speculated that, hey, it probably would not be long until the rest of us were able to do that on our Xbox One or our Xbox Series X or S, since Omega is usually used as the testing ground for some of those things. Turns out 1 week later, there you go. It's now free. There's like 67 free-to-play games on there that you don't need the Gold Live subscription anymore. We can stop putting that stupid-ass disclaimer on any articles we write about Xbox free-to-play games requiring the Gold. That is gone. Enjoy. Go ahead, Q.
Okay, I'm giving an A-bomb, but I'm actually not sure who I'm giving it to. It's either to Funko or the stores that we buy the Funkos through.
Uh-oh.
So back in December, they announced the Good Omens Pop Finals, and we've been waiting a while for there to be official Good Omens merch. So Neil Gaiman comes out and goes, "Hey, please buy these so we can actually convince BBC to make more merch." And we're all like, "Okay," and we pre-order it. And the estimation was initially March when everybody would be getting their stuff. And as you sit there and watch, it gets pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And it's like, okay, well, the original one that we ordered through has, now that we looked at it, really bad reviews on the Better Business Bureau.
Oh, no.
But every other site either has them still in pre-order or out of stock. You can't figure out anything through Funko. Nobody has any idea. At this point, my thing is telling me I'm going to get mine in like August.
Oof.
And everybody's just incredibly confused. And it's like,
were
well,
these the things that you ordered? Because back in March, you were like, hey, March is going to be a good month for me getting shipped stuff, because I was shipping you the Genshin Impact stuff and these Funko Pops and something else. Like the something else and the Genshin Impact stuff for me came, but these are the Pops that you were supposed to get back then?
Yes, these are the Pops that I was supposed to get then, and they just keep getting pushed back and back and back. And according to the website, like the website that I ordered through, it's all just up to Funko. And people are saying, well, if they order stuff that's not pre-orders, they get their stuff just fine. But if it's pre-orders, it'll be like a year later and you get it. So I guess it's Funko I'm mad at, because I'm assuming this is their fault, but I'm not sure.
What do you got, Jason?
All right, well, last week I gave a bomb to Enlisted, which I still like.
Yeah.
I'm still playing.
Yeah, you can enjoy that game.
Yeah, quite a lot. But now I have to give them an A-bomb.
Uh-oh.
Because
things went sour fast.
Yeah, well, it went sour this morning. So, I mean, Enlisted is an open beta, which is, for a free-to-play game, it's kind of like launch, but they're still calling it open beta, whatever. But now they're adding a new campaign, the Battle of Berlin, in closed beta.
Okay. So you're testing a new campaign. Why are you giving an A-bomb to new content?
Because to get into this closed beta, which is inside the open beta, you have to buy a bundle.
Wait, what?
And the bundle costs $50.
So the game's in open beta. You could just go and play.
Yeah.
And they're adding content to the game, but they're closed beta
we don't need
testing.
to go through the description here. I want a
that
timeline
content.
here. We get it. We get it. So yeah,
and you gotta
they say that's for testing, but yeah, you're already testing. So what the hell are you doing, guys? A-bomb.
What the hell? From the viewers,
they're testing your bank account.
In chat, we've got Terra Nova, A-bomb to Grinding Gear Games in the latest League release. How do you get something so wrong when you've done it so many times before? They managed to do that quite a bit, actually. Ninja Panda's debomb to the Hobbit for his patience of 8 months of pie making. I understand the grind. Nasagra saying sad bomb to the Super Adventure Box ending soon. Windshark A-bomb to my friend for convincing me to return to Destiny 2. The current season is pretty fun and a lot less grindy than it was in previous seasons. So don't you mean dub-bomb then? Yeah, it sounds like you like that, so that'd be dub-bomb. Yeah. Old Glory, A-bomb. Do I need to bring up the picture?
The chart.
Old Glory, A-bomb to Dungeon Fighter Online. Who the F uses stamina fatigue systems in PC MMOs? It's like 20 to 30 minutes. I'm out of fatigue as a free-to-play character. That used to be a huge thing in free-to-play games with stamina meters.
What do you expect from a mobile port?
Ninja Panda says, P.S. My Final Fantasy XIV Y'shtola statue is now released and on the way. Congratulations. That's a beautiful statue. From viewers, Whole Milk, A-bomb to Lord of the Rings Online. With the news of Amazon's LOTRO game cancellation, I thought it would be a good time to get back into LOTRO. I was quickly reminded that being a free-to-play player is a pain in the ass in LOTRO, and even if I subbed, I still wouldn't have access to most of the paid content. Can't help but think that if Amazon's game was still a threat to LOTRO, they might up their game and start changing their payment model. No, they wouldn't have. Mid-bomb, because it sits right in between, To Path of Exile and Grinding Gear Games, the announcement following the complete shit show that was the Ultimatum League start was open, honest, and transparent. This kind of communication is always appreciated and helps establish trust between devs and publishers and the player base. However, how many times does a league start have to be lambasted by the community before Grinding Gear Games takes drastic steps to avoid meltdowns like this? Additionally, anybody with a lick of sense could have seen that the outrage that would be generated by letting streamer jump the queue during a league start. Yeah, that was a questionable decision. Go ahead, Jason.
Guardian Vale, D-Bomb to the Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's surprisingly good. A-Bomb to the Amazon Game Company at Tencent with the cancellation of the new Lord of the Rings MMO. Am I surprised? No, but I wanted a new Lord of the Rings game. Yeah, me too.
Me too.
I do wonder what Amazon's long-term strategy is for the game division. Right now, they're just setting money on fire. Yeah, they've got plenty to burn.
Go ahead, Q.
Misfit Rain, D-Bomb to Wall Street Bets. I do remember a couple episodes ago, I D-Bombed Dogecoin saying it's not a joke. Well, Wall Street Bets are the guys that spiked the GameStop stock, I believe. Yes, they were. They got in Dogecoin last week or so. It was 5C on the 6th of April. They blew that up to 45C. As of 15th or 16th, I was in it for the most part. They've got my invested cash to 19K. I hope that they took people saying it will never hit $1 as a challenge and keep this up and surpass it. Hell, I challenged them to get it half of what GameStop got to. Well, more like a plea. LOL.
Yeah, it did have a little bump there. Little bump. Mm-hmm. It's kind of falling back down again, though. Question of the week last week. Has Epic gone the smart long game route with the Epic Game Store, or have they gone too deep with their Epic Game Store push, and now other items like Unreal will end up paying for it? What do you hate about the Epic Game Store? Whole Milk chiming in here too. Question of the week. Instead of listing the many reasons why I dislike the Epic Game Store, let me ask everyone this. Can you name a single feature of the Epic Game Store that would convince you to use it over anything else? I think most people would confidently answer no. Even those who play Fortnite and Rocket League seem to accept the platform begrudgingly and would probably uninstall Epic Game Store if those games were both available on Steam. I feel like my comments this week have been pretty cynical. I'll try to pick it up next week. That's all right. We let Jason on the show, so you're you're totally fine. Go ahead, Jason.
The weird thing is how Rocket League got a bump in population on Steam, which you can track after it went free to play, but only on Epic. That's the weirdest
thing. I wish I could have a copy of it on Steam. If somebody's got an old one laying there that they haven't gifted, by all means, I'll buy it.
Razy0101 missed the question of the week last week. Oh man, I've literally put in 7,000 plus hours in League of Legends and haven't and never will spend a single dime in that game.
That is a lot of hours. That is a lot of hours. Go ahead, Q.
Guardian Vale, question of the week. I think you can fill an entire free-to-play cast episode about what's wrong with the Epic Store. The functionality I miss the most, a shopping cart and the way to look for games. I've never purchased something via the Epic Game Store, yes, but it was half price and I had a coupon. Enough said, I think.
Yeah, I mean, hey, nobody's going to bitch about free games, right?
No.
That part's okay, but it's not enough to entice me to use just the Epic Game Store over something else. Yeah. The House Always Wins says, question of the week, it is, as of now, the closing days of April 2021. And yet, the Epic Game Store still does not have a shopping cart. House is absolutely right. I totally forgot about this when we were talking last week because it is one of my biggest gripes, and I totally spaced on it. It absolutely boggles the mind how such a premier storefront still does not have such a simple and very much needed feature several years into its lifespan. It's almost insulting that Epic expects customers who wish to buy multiple items to make purchases one at a time. This, by the way, this even is for the free stuff too. Like to claim the free games when there's more than one, like this week there are two, it is two totally separate transactions to get them. I know this must seem like first world problems, but the Epic Game Store is competing with other platforms for money. Other platforms that make purchasing games not a headache-inducing process. By not implementing something as simple as a shopping cart so many years in, the Epic Store shows that it does not take customer satisfaction seriously. I shall thus continue to do business with the likes of Steam and GOG storefronts that respect their customers' time. I don't have anything to say except I agree. I agree.
Point to be made there by forcing you to buy individual games at a time if you want to do it all in one day. Some people's credit or bank cards will freak out because you're just making all these really tiny little odd purchases.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that in its own is a good reason to implement a shopping cart.
Yep. Go ahead, Jason.
Fexon just says GOG Galaxy.
Yeah, I think enough said. I think enough said. Mike Byrne, Steam. Go ahead, Q.
Bergner Kettlein. Epic exclusives suck. It's killing competition. It's like if WoW wanted to make sure they never got any competition in the MMO genre and they just bought every other big MMO before they even launched. And about the free games, I think they're going to start offering the same games again, already happening with Alien Isolation. They've done it a few times now because I write those. And Mike's been like, haven't they done this one before?
Yep. KO says, question of the week. During COVID, I prepared games to play because I couldn't pay for the internet. Many were on the Epic shit store. I aimed grinding games so I can just grind a lot, Borderlands games, and a few others. And guess what? When the internet eventually died, offline mode didn't work. So they'd screwed me over. I couldn't launch any of the games. At least Steam had my back as I had plenty of games installed there. I forgot. What was the question? Epic Shitstore can eat a big fat sand. Sand. Yeah, we'll go with sand.
Sure.
Finish it off, Jason.
Gessley says, as someone who doesn't have a good internet, Steam is great for me. Not only EGS, but every launcher for other games, download speed is lower than Steam. That's why I don't like it when there is an MMO on Steam, but they download their launcher and launcher starts to download gigabytes of game with a lower speed.
Yeah.
But EGS overall not only downloads games with lower speed, but the store itself is less responsive and loads switches pages slower than Steam. And if EGS is downloading a game or update, then EGS becomes even slower. Don't have such a problem with Steam. It's my experience as someone who doesn't have a fast internet. Another downside is that almost none of my friends use it. Everyone sticks with Steam. Sometimes when I log in to claim a free game, there are suspicious friend invites. I don't play games there. How are there invites from random users? My guess equals some shady bots. And even though I don't use every single feature on Steam, I still like to roam from time to time in reviews, friend profiles, collection communities, store workshop, etc., which I probably never do in EGS. I don't have the need, necessity, or desire for it.
Yeah, I mean, and there isn't a single thing anybody said there that you can be like, oh, well, that. Nah. No, I mean, everybody's just dead on about it. Dead on. Question of the week this week, looking at some MMOs that have been canceled, some that are coming down the road. I want to know about features you like in MMORPG. Specifically, tell us about the most unique MMO mechanic you've ever seen. Whether it could be the way a certain game did questing, the way a certain character progression system worked, a mechanic in a dungeon that you really liked. Let us know what's the most unique MMO mechanic you've ever seen and in what game in the comments below. While you're there, don't forget to give us your weekly bombs. Dub-bomb for something good, dub-bomb for something good, dub-bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad, or just your thoughts in general. Put them in the comments below, and if you have questions for the panel, throw those down there, and we'll bring them to next week's show. Until then, Q, where can everybody find you?
Hanging out on Twitter at Quinlan.
Jason.
Find me on Twitter at WinterFormal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
Windshark apologizing. You're all right, my friend. I'm teasing you. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb so we can tweet at you with all the latest shows, news, articles, interviews, giveaways, and so much more. Until next week, stay safe, and we'll see you on the servers. Later.